Here is something rarely said aloud. Most people lose money not because they take risks, but because they misunderstand safety. In the natural world, creatures that chase sudden rewards rarely survive long. Those that endure choose environments where loss is limited, energy is preserved, and time does the heavy lifting. Finance works in much the same way. Yet again and again, I watch us gamble our futures on excitement, noise, and urgency. Today, I want to show you why the most powerful investment strategy feels almost boring and why that boredom may quietly change your life. I want you to imagine that we are sitting together somewhere peaceful. No screens blinking, no numbers rushing past, just a moment of calm. Because the truth we're about to explore cannot be understood in a hurry. It requires stillness and patience and a willingness to let go of the idea that wealth must arrive with drama. Most advice about investing speaks loudly. It tells you to move fast, to act now, to chase what is rising before it disappears. But in my lifetime of observing patterns across landscapes, ecosystems, and human behavior, I've learned something that rarely makes headlines. The greatest returns usually come from the smallest, safest decisions, repeated quietly over time. The problem is not that people are reckless. The problem is that they confuse excitement with opportunity. They confuse motion with progress. They confuse risk with reward. And so they exhaust themselves, financially, emotionally, and mentally, trying to outrun a system that favors patience. Let me take you somewhere else for a moment. Picture a forest. Not the dramatic kind you see in films, but a real one. Dense, slow, almost silent. Nothing appears to be happening. Yet beneath the soil, roots are stretching, communicating, sharing resources. Growth is occurring at a pace so gentle it escapes attention. No single tree is trying to grow faster than the others. No tree panics because another one is taller. The forest thrives, not because of urgency, but because of balance. Now compare that to how most people invest. Constant checking, constant reacting. Every rise brings excitement. Every fall brings fear. It's like uprooting the tree every day to see if it's growing, and then wondering why it never does. I've met countless people who believed they were being cautious, when in truth they were exposing themselves to the greatest danger of all, emotional decision-making. They chased what was popular. They fled what was quiet. They moved their money again and again, never allowing time to do what time does best. Here is the uncomfortable truth. The safest investment is not the one that promises the highest return. It is the one that limits how much you can lose while allowing time to work in your favor. Safety is not the absence of movement, it is the presence of protection. In nature, survival is not about boldness, it is about endurance. Creatures that take enormous risks may thrive briefly, but they rarely last. Those that survive generation after generation choose strategies that protect them from catastrophe. They conserve energy, they avoid unnecessary exposure, they accept slow growth over sudden collapse. We, however, have taught ourselves the opposite. We celebrate speed, we reward risk-taking, without asking who quietly disappeared along the way. We admire the rare winner and ignore the countless unseen losses, and then we wonder why investing feels so stressful. Let me tell you a small story. Imagine two people starting their financial journey at the same time. One spends years searching for the perfect opportunity. They jump in and out, they follow trends, they react to news. Their journey feels intense, important, exhausting. The other person chooses something simple. They invest regularly, they avoid drama, they protect themselves from large losses. They rarely talk about it. Years pass. One feels tired and uncertain. The other feels almost surprised at how far they've come. Nothing dramatic happened, and that is precisely the point. The greatest power in investing is not intelligence, it is temperament. It is the ability to sit still while others panic, to remain calm while others rush, to accept small, steady progress while the world screams for more. This is where most people misunderstand risk. Risk is not volatility. Risk is not boredom. Risk is permanent loss. Risk is being forced out of the game before time can help you. The moment you lose the ability to stay invested because of fear, debt, or desperation, you lose the most valuable ally you have: time. Time is the quiet partner in every successful investment. It does not demand brilliance, it only asks that you don't interrupt it. Compounding, when you strip away the jargon, is simply this: small gains building on top of each other again and again without being destroyed by impatience. Think of it like this. A single drop of water seems insignificant, but placed gently, repeatedly in the same spot, it can shape stone, not through force, through consistency. Yet we are taught to distrust this process. We are told it's too slow, too ordinary, too small, and so we abandon it in search of something louder, something faster, something that makes us feel clever. But nature does not reward cleverness, it rewards alignment. When something works with the environment rather than against it, growth becomes almost inevitable. There's a paradox here that many find difficult to accept. Doing less can lead to more. Fewer decisions can outperform constant action. Stillness can be a strategy. This does not mean doing nothing. It means doing the right small things and then getting out of the way. Ask yourself this gently, without judgment. Where in your financial life are you overhandling things? Where are you reacting instead of allowing? Where are you mistaking activity for progress? Most losses don't come from bad investments. They come from bad moments, moments of fear, greed, or urgency. And those moments are far less likely to occur when your strategy is simple, boring, and protective. There's a deep relief that comes from understanding this, a quiet exhale. Because suddenly, you don't need to predict the future. You don't need to outsmart anyone. You don't need to be early, fast, or special. You only need to avoid catastrophic mistakes and remain patient. Let me offer you a reframe that may change how you see everything. Investing is not about making money quickly. It is about not losing it unnecessarily. Returns are what remain after survival. Once you accept this, your behavior changes. You stop chasing, you stop reacting, you stop needing constant reassurance, and in that calm space, better decisions emerge naturally. Now, how does one live this truth in practice without complexity or overwhelm? The first step is protection. Before you seek return, reduce exposure. Protect your capital, protect your emotional stability, protect your ability to stay invested. This may not feel exciting, but it is foundational. In nature, shelter always comes before expansion. The second step is repetition. Choose actions that are small enough to repeat consistently, even on difficult days. Automate where possible. Remove the need for constant choice. The fewer emotional decisions you must make, the safer your journey becomes. The third step is patience. Not passive waiting, but active trust. Trust that time, when undisturbed, is extraordinarily powerful. Trust that you do not need to interfere constantly for growth to occur. You may notice something surprising as you do this. Anxiety begins to soften. The urge to check constantly fades. The fear of missing out loosens its grip, because your strategy no longer depends on being right in the moment. It depends on staying present over the long term. This approach is not glamorous. It will not impress strangers. It will not make good headlines. But it has something far more valuable. It works. And more than that, it gives you peace. I want to leave you with a final reflection. You are not behind. You are not broken. You have simply been taught to confuse noise with progress. The world grows louder each year, but the principles of endurance have not changed. Those who protect what matters, who move gently, who allow time to unfold, these are the ones who quietly arrive where they hope to be. If something in this perspective felt familiar, or comforting, or quietly true, you might consider staying. You might choose to like this video, not out of obligation, but recognition. You might share a thought below, not to impress, but to connect. And you might subscribe, not for urgency, but for continuity. Because the most meaningful growth does not rush, it remains.